Hello and welcome. Another graphic novel review by me, Andrew Ace. You can find me online at UYS999. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, everything. Come and say hi. Always like meeting new folks. Love chatting about comic books, and always love feedback. So if you want to leave some comments at the bottom of the video, please do. So this week we're going to be talking about two different series, one Marvel, one DC, books I've just finished reading and that I wanted to share my thoughts about them. Well, first off is Sandman. Now, Neil Gaiman's classic run on the series. There's 10 volumes all told, and a phenomenal reading. I mean, this is the stuff that came out in the 90s and really redefined what comic books could be, what who comic book readers might be. And certainly Neil Gaiman drew in a number of literary sources, touching upon Greek plays, Shakespeare, heck, Freud and Carl Jung's, archetypes. I don't think there's an element of modern storytelling that Neil Gaiman hasn't touched on, and his turn of phrases are phenomenal. He's one of those guys that is often held up as this kind of, amazing, epic comic book, writer. I think overall just writer is a good term. And he really does live up to that. Certainly the Sandman series certainly does. And for those who haven't encountered the Sandman series, I should just, a quick blurb. Morpheus, the king of dreams, one of the endless, essentially a god of dreaming. And it's about him. It's about the people that live in his realm, about the people who, are influenced by their dreams. I mean, this story weaves between, sort of very normal, almost banal aspects of our day-to-day existence to, hyper fantastical realms of imagination, where, the characters are aware that they're dreaming, but everything is still real for them. Anyway, certainly the last two volumes of the series, so volume 9, an incredibly thick book called The Kindly Ones, and on it Neil Gaiman is working with a number of artists: Mark Hempel, Richard Case, you can see I just keep going through, Charles Vess, Jill Thompson did a number of work on a couple volumes prior, and I haven't reviewed the whole series. I mean, the artists involved in this, phenomenal. This was put out by Vetigo Comics, early 90s, though I believe that the whole run lasted about 10 years. And the final book is The Wake, and again, I don't want to spoil anything of these stories, but certainly Neil Gaiman's approach to how to tell, a superhero story, a comic book story, any story, I would say, is very unique in his, and where he takes this one. So, The Sandman is worth reading, 10 volumes, though there's also one or two other extra books like Sandman, The Dream Hunters, which if I haven't reviewed I will, and is one of my all-time favorite standalone graphic novels. Anyway, Sandman, definitely worth picking up. A little bit of a reading commitment, but then again, look at some series these days, and 10 volumes isn't actually that many books. So, the other half of today's graphic novel review is about Uncanny X-Force. Now, this is the run, two volumes ago, where it was Rick Remender and Jerome Opina. I'm totally mispronouncing that. Opina. I apologies if someone want to let me know the phonetical pronunciation. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so the last two volumes are a two-part finale to the series, and I have to say that I loved the beginning of this run. Uncanny X-Force started with this team being brought together to essentially be an assassin hit squad to take care of threats to mutant kind before they become threats. So instead of trying to save the world at the last minute, as the X-Men always seemingly are, the idea is you get out in front of the villains, you kill the boss guy, and their plans never come to fruition. So they have a very darker take on the X-Men, and this was, sort of spinning out of a number of changes in the title, where the characters are certainly beginning darker and darker, and I mean, it continues, where now you have Cyclops ostensibly sort of the you know, poster boy for milkshakes and apple pie in the 60s, a character still dealing with being an outsider, being a mutant, and all that that was sort of speaking to, but still a very wholesome, straight-laced character. And now, you know, in the comic books, he's leading essentially the mutant revolution. He's the new Magneto. And this is sort of on the way, on the road to that. You've got Wolverine, you've got Psylocke, you've got Deadpool, you've got Archangel, my goodness, Deathlock, Nightcrawler. It's a who's who of popular characters, and in part, you know, if I were to say from a marketing perspective or an external, you know, approach to viewing maybe how these characters got chosen, certainly, you know, very, very popular, darker characters, Deadpool, Wolverine, together. I mean, that makes for tons of hilarity. And the series started with the characters, well, and again, huge spoiler, so stop, if you don't want spoiler, but they kill a young Apocalypse. Apocalypse, having previously been defeated, has reincarnated himself as a young boy, and they show up and kill him. And from there, though, the characters' choices and sort of their dealing with this action, what has happened, leads all the way down to the end of the run, which, unfortunately, I gotta say I don't love as much as the start. I'm not knocking the art. I'm not knocking the storytelling. There's no one element that is poor. I mean, they're great comic book reads, but compared to the first 3 volumes of this run, I feel that it's lost a bit of its steam, it's lost a bit of its emotional impact, and frankly, again, huge spoiler, stop watching if you don't want spoilers, but Wolverine kills his son right at the end of the story, and there's almost, like, to me, no real gravitas, emotional gravitas to this scene, to this moment. And I wondered, you know, why that was. Was it because the story started with something so horrific that killing Dakin, who's clearly an assassin and a murderer and not a good guy, doesn't really have, even though he's the son of Wolverine, the same impact as a small child? Or is it because, you know, ultimately it's the Marvel Universe, they're superheroes, or, you know, they are fictional characters and they don't stay dead. So, you know, someone like Dakin, such an important character, someone who, you know, heck, even with Marvel now, a little while after this, but certainly a year or 2 years in the past from where I'm reviewing, he'd been brought back from the dead in Uncanny Avengers. I don't know his current status in the Secret Wars, Battle World, whole thing going down, but to see a character like that killed, to have Wolverine lament, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense for his character, but as a reader, I guess I'm left sort of feeling, well, why doesn't he try to bring him back from the dead? I mean, he will come back from the dead, and Wolverine, having seen so many people come back from the dead, should, if nothing else, sort of be like, you know, have I really killed him, or is there a way? Is there, you know, a rod, a sword, a Phoenix-gifted person who can bring him back to life? Heck, who can bring him back to life, change his memories, and maybe could be a happy person? I almost don't want to spoil too much about the series, but that very topic is brought through the series with a different character. So to see Wolverine, you know, if nothing else that had happened in the story, sure, I could have bought his emotional response, but as it stands, I just felt that it was a bit of a vacuous ending to the story. Still a great read. And so, you know, I'm like knocking the ending in a way, but that one bit with Wolverine is only part of the series. And certainly the story, the art, the first 3 volumes are phenomenal. I love Rick Remender as a writer. So, you know, I just want to show that, you know, I don't read these books unthinkingly, but at the same time, you know, you as a viewer now, as a consumer, only have so many dollars, and you're watching this to try and figure out what it is that's going to suit your own taste best. So let's just try to give an honest review. Anyway, guys, those are the 2 graphic novels, or 4, but 2 different series reviewing this week. So it was The Sandman by Neil Gaiman and Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender. You can find me online at UYS999. Like I said before, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. If it's out there, I'm on it. And I hope you'll leave some comments below the video. Cheers.